Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video of the Executive Elevation Engine. This video is Pillar 5, Team Culture and Organizational Dynamics. Before we do go ahead and get started, if you have not already, please watch the previous 4 videos because those are the building blocks for each consecutive video after. For those of you who have watched the videos, thank you. And go ahead and drop in the comments what you have learned and what you have already implemented into your organizations. And some housekeeping rules. If you're not subscribed already, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button. It's a quick button that you can click. It helps me, supports my channel, and helps us grow to a much larger community. And for those of you who are struggling with these organizational and toxic cultures in your company, if you'd like my help, please go ahead and click on that first link down below. It takes you directly to my website and we can connect and figure out how I can support your company and your teams to become the best version of themselves. So now that the housekeeping is out of the way, let's go ahead and get started on today's video. So the agenda that we've got for today's video is number 1, the problem, aka the soft skills trap. Then we got the toxicity tax, hidden costs of bad culture. Number 3, it's going to be the framework, the culture of psychological safety. Number 4 is going to be leadership habits for scalable culture, very important. And number 5, the culture lens on enterprise performance. So let's kick things off, guys, with the problem that we see today in organizations. So a lot of companies are treating culture as a vibe instead of an operating system. And what does that mean? So number 1 thing, right, there's an invisible drag going on. So a lot of the times people think it's an HR problem, but really 70% of culture issues come directly by your head manager, your head director, the person that you're directly reporting up to, but yet it is claimed as a HR problem, which then brings in low trust to your team members. There's a study been done and it shows that only 3 out of 10 employees feel their opinions count. That's pretty bad. You don't have any trust employees that want to speak because they feel that the culture does not allow them to do that, which results in organizational silence. And then what does that happen, right? You get a drift. And the drift means that without any active management, your culture is going to default to being absolutely horrible. And you as a leader, whatever you tolerate, and even if you tolerate toxic culture, is what you become known as. And typically the myth is always that culture equals ping pong tables, perks, free lunch, getting all these credits for your employees, but instead it's about what you preach and not what you tolerate. And that's what we want to completely get away from, is not treating our culture like a vibe, but instead, how can we put it into an operating system that we can use on a daily basis? Having the toxic culture, what does that cost an enterprise? So it has been estimated that the turnover due to toxic culture in US businesses alone has costed companies $223 billion over a 5-year period. Insane amount of money. And it's crazy that most people don't know this, but the replacement penalty that companies actually incur by replacing a trained employee is 2 times the annual salary of recruitment, onboarding, and lost productivity. So you think that you've replaced your best employee and you think that it's fine, we'll find a replacement. Well, guess what? You're spending even more money trying to find a replacement who can do that level of work. And guess what? While you're in recruitment period, you're losing money because there's lost productivity. And then the brilliant jerk math. So let's say you have a toxic employee who seems to be the one that everybody hates or dislikes. Well, guess what? That individual is costing you $12,500 in just overall turnover expenses of other employees leaving. So you have to ask yourself, are these numbers, are these costs worth it to you and your company for maintaining and keeping a toxic culture? If the answer is yes, well, I hope you're willing to change. And if the answer is no, we have exactly the video today to talk about how we can get away from having toxic cultures and ensuring that these problems don't incur your business. And you may ask, how do we do that? Well, number one, we have to start with framework. So Google did a phenomenal study, and they called it the Project Aristotle. So the Project Aristotle consisted of 180 teams were being studied. And what they found was that psychological safety was the number one predictor of success, not individual IQ or their skill level, but psychological safety. Individuals need to have that mindset and that belief that they are valued, that they have their opinions can be actually be said. If you have a culture that is only rewarding the brilliant jerks or rewarding only the individuals that have the high IQs or the skills, but they have no culture in them, you're losing your good employees. And a lot of the times, high trust teams have admitted this earlier, the vulnerability loop can cause problem solving and innovation if you can catch it early on. And this is where we want to be. We want to catch these issues early on. And how do we do that? We have to ensure that we have the proper alignment. Culture isn't about everyone agreeing, but instead it's about committing to the same mission. Not everybody you work with is going to be on the same page as you, but they have to overall understand the overall mission, the vision, like we've talked about in the past pillars. And having this framework, right, this cycle that you see on the right side, we have to start with psychological safety. We have to ensure that our employees, our teams have that place, have that culture set up for them to be successful. That leads to having that vulnerability. Leaders are missing out on the vulnerable side and actually being a human being. A lot of leaders are transactional, and it's a sad reality, but it has to change. And I find this happening in more and more organizations that I work with, is that it's become a people place where you accelerate, you climb up the ladder based off of the person that you know. Doesn't matter about what you can produce, doesn't matter what kind of person you are, it only matters about the person that you know that can get you up to the top. And then what we want to change and ensure that is the vulnerability aspect, which then turns into the shared purpose. Having alignment on the same mission to go ahead and get the job done, to feel valued and bring the ROI into your organization. And having this framework in mind will give you that overall cycle that you have to ensure that you are consistently, as a leader, ensuring that this is in place on a daily basis. This is how we get away from that toxic culture that you're tolerating today and trying to figure out, how do I fix this? Why is my teams not getting together? Why are they not working together? Because it's you. You as a leader have not implemented a framework. You have just been tolerating what's been given to you. So what are some habits that you as a leader can scale and implement in your culture? Well, number one, have zero tolerance for brilliant jerks. You absolutely need to remove those individuals out of your organization, because guess what? Not only are you losing out on money, you're losing out on time. You're losing out on productivity on having these brilliant jerks in your organization. You do not tolerate that individual. And what you preach publicly and what you tolerate publicly defines you as a leader. The pre-mortem ritual, very, very important. Before any project starts, you always have to assess the risks that you may face. The best way to do this is ask yourself, if this project fails in 6 to 12 months, what risk will we be hitting on? And guess what? That gives you an analysis to think ahead of the game. And then the people that actually get the job done, the people that are the glue to your organization, who we call the cultural architects, those are the individuals. You pick those individuals that are going to rise to the top. And because why I say that, that's so important, because you as a leader, you as a CEO, you don't have, your responsibility is not to be making every single decision. You honestly don't have enough time to do that. How do you scale as a leader? How do you scale your company? You find these cultural architects and you give them that responsibility. You give them the empowerment to step up. They build their own team. They hire their team. You hold them accountable to that level. And once you know that these people are put in place, you give them a task, you can confidently say the job gets done. That's the level that you as a leader need to get to, is that if you give somebody a task, you can put your phone down, you can shut your laptop off knowing the job will get done. And now you as a leader understand the framework, you understand the scalable aspect on what you can do for your culture. Now let's look at it from a lens of culture, enterprise level performance. 3 different areas that we want to focus on. Number 1, it's tracking. And you're just not going to measure overall general turnover. You're going to be tracking voluntary turnover rate and ensuring that what's going on exactly. Why are individuals leaving your organization? Is it because of voluntary? Is it because of brilliant jerks that you're removing? You have to understand why the cultural architects of your company are leaving. And if it's 20% or more of your top talent is leaving, you've got a toxic culture, which you must fix. Then we move over to diagnose. We understand, okay, we have a problem at hand. It's the most important thing here. The healthy culture grows from its own leaders. You, my friend, you're the one who builds that positive culture for individuals to stay and retain in their employees. The biggest thing that I see, and I'm sure many people can agree, is that an internal role will be available to internal people, and they will try applying to this job, but instead the company hires from externally, and they'll pay that person so much more than the people that are already internally working. And a lot of companies think this is a great move. We get better mindsets. No, you should be home growing your people more than externally hiring, because what does that show to the market? What does that show to the shareholders? You have no culture. Your individuals that are within that company clearly are looking to go outside. And at one point, your cultural architects, your top performers are going to leave, because the fact that you're hiring external individuals, probably paying them double the salary, it's going to become a lot more conflicting between the internal and external people that are coming in. And then prediction. How fast does bad news travel? Guess what? Just because you think you're doing something extraordinary, news travels pretty fast. And if you can forego an entire quarter without hearing bad news or any kind of risk from your team, you have a culture of fear. Your employees are not willing to talk to you because you don't have that open space. No one is willing to give that constructive feedback. No one's willing to grow because you have built that kind of culture that we do not want in the first place. So that, guys, brings us to the end of Pillar 5. And today we have learned about team culture and organizational dynamics, the foundation of execution, the foundation of your people, because those people are very important. Today you have learned about the problem, what the cost is, what the framework is, how you can scale as an individual leader, and how you can look at the lens as an overall enterprise. So that being said, guys, I hope that you all found this video to be very useful. I please ask that you go ahead and take notes. Share this with your colleagues, share this with your friends and family, share with somebody that is trying to become a leader or whoever is a leader, and maybe even share with your own team and try to figure out how you guys can get away from a toxic culture. This is a great foundational piece for you. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're facing any of these issues at your current organization, feel free to reach out to me directly via my link. We can set up some time. I have 10 plus years of consulting experience helping companies fix just like these issues and becoming a much better culture for the people and retaining their employees. So with that being said, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be ready. Last video, Pillar 6. See you then.